I was at the game. Heartbreaking. Manny played his too safe. Punted on 4th and 1. Rushed 3 on 4th and 14. Wishy-washy with his goal line late game coaching.
I agree with every last one of those statements. Miami had been going for Miami was going for it all fourth quarter, Mark. Touchdowns on one of them to start the fourth quarter after almost having a middle of the field fight. I mean, it was beautiful. This was such a momentum changing opportunity. The crowd is back in the game. They're screaming. We meeting at the 50, jumping up and down, back and forth. I mean, it looked like rivalry football. And you go for it on fourth down. You hit Will Mallory, whose hands has been iffy for the first half of the season. You slam the ball down. You in their face. You got Manny Diaz fist punch in the air. I mean, you felt like it was right there. But when the game was right there in your face to do it again on 4th and 1, you folded. You folded and you punted the ball, and then you put a defense out there that hadn't been playing well majority of the game. They made some opportunities with some nice turnovers, and they made some stops when need be, but they weren't playing elite. Trust the side of the ball that was hot, and that was the offense. I don't want to get all fired up about this again because it's over, it's behind us, but it's just heartbreaking, man. It's heartbreaking to think about it because, man, oh man, it was so bad, and I think it had to be that bad because that's how you're going to get the change moving forward. Because we don't have the right people down there running things who think you can have two things at once. We have a lot of people that think you have to have this or that, as opposed to you finish out the season at a 9-4 record. You go to the bowl game, you win the bowl. Well, 8-4, excuse me. I'm sorry. You go 8-4. You finish out, you win the bowl game at 9-4, and you still make all of these changes because you show that you want to go from being a mediocre program to a top 15 in the conversation kind of program. But instead, we only make changes when hit the fan and everything has to blow up and fire everybody because we suck and we're losing. And that to me is a mindset that I hope people get away from, because I used to think like that. I used to think, well, if you got a great offense, that means your defense sucks. Well, if you got a good defense, that means your offense sucks. Nah, you can have both. You can have your cake and eat it too. Do you know what that original term is, Mark? Just to go off into a different, that term, have your cake and eat it too. Do you know where that originally came from and what it actually means?
I know that I recently came across some kind of post where somebody didn't understand
Right.
what it meant,
Uh-huh.
and I explained it to them because at one point I didn't really understand why can't you have your cake and eat it too? Well, if you got the cake, then you can eat it. Basically, what it means before you tell us where it originated is basically if you have a cake, it's beautiful, you want the cake. Well, if you eat it, then the cake no longer exists. So you can't have the cake and also eat it. You have to choose to either have the cake or eat the cake. You can't
Okay.
have both. You can't keep the cake, but also eat it. But I don't know
So
where it originated.
in my philosophy at North Dakota State, we had this conversation, right? And it was mind blowing where this actually originates from. It's not you can't have your cake and eat it too. It's you can't have cake and eateth too. The original conversation and original phrase is that you can't have two women at the same time. That's where it originally came from. You can't have Kate and Edith too. But then people changed it over time to you can't have your cake and eat it too. But the original phrase,
Really?
yeah, and look, FTW 305 MDC says Kate and Edith. Yes, that's where it originally came from, and it was being taught that you're not supposed to, adultery and having multiple
Yeah.
people and things of that nature. But that's where it originates from. that mindset. And you can Google it for those of you all who question it. And it's, it's based on philosophy and where that conversation came from. But at grad school at NDSU, it was one of the first things. You walk in class, you sit down, and the professor stands up there and he goes, "Hey, you guys know that term, you can't have your cake and eat it too." And everybody's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, of course, of course." So, yeah, that's not the original phrase. It's
Huh.
been misquoted for generations. It's actually, you can't have cake and eateth too. Look it up. It is mind blowing, man. It's like, huh. But then at the end of the day, again, it's all up to perception and perspective. They both mean the exact same thing as far as there's one thing that you want and one thing that you need, and you can't have, you can't have both of them, and you have to choose. And that's where it came from. Yep.
Huh.